Hello everybody, how's it going? It's me, Crendor, and welcome back to Crendor Talks in front of a shitty green screen. Today, we're talking about more Warhammer Old World, because I can't get enough Warhammer Old World at this point. It's like, it's all I've been doing in my hobby time. It's like, whether I'm building Tomb Kings, playing the Old World game, painting stuff, like I've just been full on Warhammer Old World. And like I mentioned in another video, it reminds me of Classic WoW, like when they did Retail WoW and then they went back to Classic WoW. And at first I was like, I'll give it a shot. It'll be fun for nostalgia. And I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. And now I'm like, I love this. Like I am fully in Warhammer Old World. So last couple videos I've been saying, I've been reading the first, what did I say? I was like, oh, I'm pretty excited for Warhammer Old World. I got the Tomb King box. I've been building it. Then I talked about how I've been having fun reading all of the rules, and now I've actually played 4 games. So I played 3 as Tomb Kings and 1 as the Beastmen, which was my first Fantasy Beastmen game today. And I've had fun in every single game. There's been wacky moments, there's been crazy moments. Like it's been really cool to finally be able to play the game that I wanted to play 20 years ago, right? Like I still remember having that old 5th edition rule book, sitting in my car, reading it in like 6th grade or whatever I was in, being like, whoa, and having no idea what I was reading. And I still don't have an idea of what I'm reading at times, but I'm, much more capable, I guess. But it's been great. So, I really just want to give my opinion on the game and even some things that I'd like to see go from this game into Age of Sigmar, the same way that there's a lot of things in Classic WoW that I really wanted them to implement into Retail WoW, right? Like it really does give me those same vibes. So first, I have lost every game except the Beastmen game. I lost every Tomb King game. In fact, the first game I played was the closest, and then I did worse and worse the next couple, but then yesterday I have learned quite a bit, and so I think it's good to play Tomb Kings to actually learn, and then playing Beastmen. The first time I failed combat resolution, I was like, oh, I guess my cockatrice he might die, and I rolled and I like started ticking down his wounds, and then my friend was like, no, you have to like take a break test or whatever, right? Or a panic test, and I was like, oh yeah. I'm not playing the skeletons. It was like my brain was so Tomb Kingified. I was just like, oh yeah, I gotta see if my guy falls apart. And I was like, wait a second. So it was a definitely different experience altogether, like playing a different army. Plus, Tomb Kings are more like tanky and obviously they're resurrecting, they're being annoying. Beastmen are just like, we're here, and once we get in combat, we're just gonna hack and slash you up. Like that was it. So the first couple Tomb King games, I made the mistake of not knowing how to move very well. This is a very movement intensive game. So I essentially screened myself in. So I was like, I gotta protect all my good units, right? So I was like, I'll screen them in. And then I realized very quickly that that was a terrible idea, because now I'm like, well, I can't move because I'm behind my shitty skeletons just standing there like, hey, we're shitty skeletons. And you're pushing them up, and then my chariot's just like, all right, right behind you, here we go. And then I was like, I gotta get this chariot out of here. And I was like, I don't know where to go. And then my big dragon guy, I was like, I guess he can't really go there because there's skeleton. And like, I caged myself in, right? So then the next game I got a little better, right? I put the chariot on the flank. So I was like, okay, now he's like roaming around, he can cruise in. My Necropolis Knights, same thing. So I was like, okay, but I still boxed my dragon in because I was like, he can't die. So I have like this. It's really difficult to manage a lot of the movement and like think ahead, but I actually enjoy that a lot. Like it really does make you think ahead of like, how is he going to react if I go here? Like he's got to charge me. Is he going to move up? Is he going to like, there's so many different things you have to think about. Where's the shooting, the magic, right? And so it's plus the chip damage actually matters. So when you play a game like Sigmar, right, a lot of it's just like mortal wounds galore. You're just mortal wounding, you're doing big damage, people are rallying back big amounts of units, you're rolling like so many dice. And in this, it just feels like you're rolling maybe like 5 to 10 dice on average. Like it's so much smaller, and the chip damage actually matters. Like in Sigmar, for example, when you do a couple a damage with an arrow or something, you're like, all right, they heal it back up, or it doesn't matter, they bring it back. But in this, it's like, dude, you just took a couple chip damages out of like a hero. Now he's pretty weak now, and you're like, yo, that's majorly impactful. It's really cool because it feels like you're in a battle, like your archers have actually done something instead of just be shitty chaff units, right? Like there's something about that feels good. So I learned a lot about that, and then the other main thing that I learned is how cool magic is when you get to do it in different phases. Because in Sigmar, obviously, you do it all in the hero phase, but in this, depending on the spell, you do it, at the start, a little bit in shooting, a little bit in movement. You could even have combat spells. And I feel like that makes magic much more engaging. And I feel like it makes magic just feel better, especially when your wizard's level of casting equates to the casting bonus they get. I think that's just the way they should do it, right? Like if your Slan has 3 spells, he's +3 to cast, right? If your guy only casts 2 spells, he's +2 to cast. I think that's one of the main things I would love Sigmar to actually just implement in 4th edition is taking the magic system from Old World, because I think the magic system is just, it's phenomenal. Like, I love the magic system in Warhammer Old World. I think it's so good. Obviously the movement, you're not going to take that. That's, very much tied to the rank and flank. But the magic system does feel like something they could implement into Age of Sigmar. And, it wouldn't be a carbon copy, but, I think you could do it pretty similar, having different spells in different phases, having the casting values equate to the thing. Like, I think that'd be cool. The other thing I've enjoyed is actually, I don't know if they're going to do this in Age of Sigmar. I don't think they would. But the actual list building with magic items and armor and all this stuff just feels so good. And I love having to pay points for different things and being able to equip different characters with stuff. I don't know. I don't think they would do that in Sigmar, but I do love the actual old world list building and being able to customize your heroes and take a standard bearer, not take a standard, take a musician, right? Upgrade your weapons. It's really fun. It gives a lot of roleplay game D&D vibes, in fact. So it's a lot more to remember. But I think once you play a couple of games, like, you just start remembering everything anyway, right? Like, at first, it seems like there's so many rules, and you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed and all these things. But then you start realizing, like, oh yeah, that's what that thing does. That's what this does. And you play it enough, and then you're like, you're just so used to it. You're like, okay, these got Vanguard, these got Volley, these got this, right? And everything becomes faster. Everything just picks up speed. So I really enjoy that. Let's see. The other thing I enjoyed from playing Beastmen that I kind of learned is fear tests actually do matter quite a bit. Leadership and fear tests. And when you play Tomb Kings, you're like, I don't know what that is. I'm immune to that, right? I don't care. But I think it is nice to play with the Tomb Kings. I think I was listening to Warhammer Weekly, and they were even saying that you should play with the Tomb Kings first if you're new, because you ignore like a third of the rules, right? And you really do. You just ignore a third of the rules. And I think it did help me for playing Beastmen, because then once I played Beastmen, I'm like, okay, so I don't have to focus on all this other stuff. Like, what am I doing in combat? What is it? I could just focus strictly on, like, okay, now I'm learning this part of the game that I did not learn at all with the Tomb Kings. So it made it much more manageable to kind of, take in. So overall, from what I've experienced, it's been a lot of fun. And I did not think I was going to have this much fun playing the game. I didn't think I was going to be going back and rebasing a whole bunch of my models to play with in Warhammer Old World, like I did with the Beastmen, and that I'm going to do with my Orc. I'm probably going to rebase my Bone Splitters into just fantasy orcs. Like, I might as well. They're not doing anything. And probably the Boar Rite is like, I have 50 Savage Orcs that just don't do anything. They may as well just become Orc Boys or whatever they're called, right? Like, and I think in the grand scheme of things, it's nice to have another option of a tabletop game to play, even if it's a much more intricate system, right? And I do love that. So it reminds me again of WoW. I keep bringing it back, but it really does. Like, having the option to play classic WoW and retail WoW and all these different things. It's nice with Warhammer, right? Like, sometimes you're like, you know what? I just want to play a game of 40K. Sometimes I just want to play Sigmar. Sometimes I just want to play Old World now, right? Like, even Blood Bowl, Underworlds, right? Like, you have so many different options, and it's just, I really like what they're doing, and I don't think they expected it to be this popular, the same way they didn't really expect Classic WoW to be as popular as it is. And so I hope that they go back and they start making, they have like the legacy factions right now, right? But I think after they do all the big boxes, which it still surprised me, the Beastmen is like an actual faction that's getting a starter box and a whole bunch of stuff. So I hope they do a bunch of updates with it, because they need it. I hope they do more factions, right? Like, I hope they start actually making boxes for Lizardmen and Skaven and all these other things. I think that'd be great. So that's it. That's mainly what I wanted to say. The only other things I was talking about from the battles I played, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. I am so happy he's actually playable in the Beastmen army, because in Beast of Chaos 2.0 Sigmar, he's trash. In current Beast of Chaos, he's trash. But finally, today, he tanked like 6 Pegasus Knights, because I gave him heavy armor. I gave him he's got armored hide 2, and then I gave him the Talisman of Protection. So he has a 3-up save and a 5-up ward. And he was going to try to challenge him, and I'm like, oh, he's not a hero. He's just a monstrous creature. And he's like, oh shit. Like, he's actually good, and he's got like a cool spell where he like damages himself and everyone around him to like buff everything about him, and he buffs up the dragon ogres, and like everything feels so thematic as well. And I think that's what I really like about it too. Everything just feels like it has its own job. It's unique. All the units feel unique in what they do, and I love it, man. Warhammer Old World, keep on going, keep on keeping on. So thank you very much for listening. Let me know how your Old World experiences have been down in the comments section below. And yeah. Okay. See ya.